Dragon Age Veilguard is completely dead. At this point, there is no one left to even argue this fact.
With every single day that passes, we are hearing more bad news for BioWare regarding Dragon Age the Veilguard. It does not seem like this game sold the way they expected. It's not holding player counts, and on social media, basically everybody is roasting this title, except
I'm not honestly even sure at this moment that they have sold 1 million copies. We previously heard that it like sold 800K, but with how fast the drop off was, did they even breach the 1 million copies sold? And considering how many multiple millions, tens of millions, in fact, copies previously this game sold, man, that is insane. Also, I'm hearing rumors currently that they have already abandoned plans for DLC. Yeah, this game sold so bad it's not gonna do DLC. Sounds like Starfield, where only roughly 6% of the player base decide to return for the DLC of Shattered Space. But most of them are probably people who got it for free anyway with the Game Pass.
for the shill journos and their followers. And now we're hearing at a retail chain, it's being reported that 14% of those orders were canceled ahead of the game's release, and the total pre-orders were less than 200,000. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the
Like for mommy, got mommy. Yes, it is a virtue that we all must oblige to. And by the way, the fact that there's 200 pre-orders in retail or stores, as much as I understand, but we didn't hear that the game reached 1 million sales is so strange, by the way. So strange, because the last time we heard anything, it was 800K sold and closing into 1 million.
description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, obviously, I think we expected Dragon Age the Veilguard to do relatively well. It's EA and BioWare, very notable names within the industry. Dragon Age is an established franchise. People have been waiting at, the point
Was an established franchise. Now it's just dust in the wind, a fart in the clouds.
in time that it released 9 years for this title to finally come out, but it's been a major disaster. Everybody's been pointing and laughing at the identity politics they shoved into this title, the really bad writing, and just
Oh,
the all around
oh god, the writing is probably the worst part. The writing is literally the worst part, okay? Let me give you an example. This happens pretty early in the game. So, you spank Solas's ass, as the name implies, and then you go to this place that's corrupted by the Blight. And you see it's corrupted by the Blight, as I just said. And you find a villager that's mind-controlled or some BS like that, okay? And then you're like, okay, let's find the village chief, or let's keep searching around. And at the end, you pretty much find the village chief, and it's ensnared by this Lovecrafty and tentacle monster thing. And then you get to talk to him. And the first thing instantaneously that happens, by the way, for no reason whatsoever, there's no setup for this. There's literally nothing for this. You instantaneously accuse him for selling out his village on his free will as an evil person for no reason. Okay? And he's like, they flooded my mind with stuff. And you know that there was mind control stuff happening in the village. You can't really even blame it on him. Why does the village chief even matter, honestly, at this point? Don't know. But all of the blame is kind of just randomly put on that dude. Instantaneously, you just accuse him of being the bad guy. There is literally no nuance, while you know that mind washing currently is happening, and he even says, they bored into my mind, they kind of made me do it, and you're like, no, you're the bad guy anyway. There is no nuance there. It is so strange. It is just so insane. You're just randomly jumping to conclusions, and it's so sad because that is an actual situation where you kind of have depth in it. Because Maybe the mayor did not know that they are evil, and he thought that this is a good opportunity to like better the village, and he did that, and it's a mistake. Maybe he was brainwashed, but no, you're just instantaneously blaming him without any reason as evil. It makes so little sense. And again, that is one of the very first kind of bigger decisions that you have to make what actually happens to the guy. And you can let him go, but again, why would you, considering everyone's talking about how evil he is and how it's his fault and whatnot? It's just so poor. You actually had an opportunity to make complicated decision. Is he guilty for what happened? Does his actions even matter in this case? If he did anything, would that even have impacted the situation? Was he mind controlled? Is he responsible for what happened, even though he was mind controlled? Well, seemingly he's fucking guilty of everything for just existing. It's so sad. That's not a role-playing game.
Mediocre experience, but now we're hearing this major report. It says approximately 14% of physical pre-orders for Veilguard at a national retailer were reportedly canceled in the days leading up to the game's release. Now, Endymion is the one revealing this, that a retail insider shared with him that 956 pre-orders of a total of 6,793 were canceled, or, you know, that ends up being 14%. Now, obviously, this is just a rumor, right? Take it with a grain of salt. We do not have any solid evidence that points to this, but Endymion has released a lot of.
I mean, it checks out technically. Why wouldn't this be the case? Considering how poorly it's sold, how poorly the player numbers are going, a lot of people saw the writing on the wall.
Information in the past that's turned out to be true, and it seems that he does typically, vet his insiders, his leakers, and it seems that, yeah, I mean, this is a legitimate number, and this number is abysmal for BioWare. Obviously, when it comes to titles, people are going to pre-order them, they're going to cancel their pre-orders. That happens with every single game, even the most successful ones, but seeing this high of a percentage is pretty mind-boggling. He wrote on X, so a source who works in the retail space showed me how many pre-orders got canceled for Dragon Age the Veilguard in the past few days. This is from a major store with over 900 locations in America. Veilguard pre-orders versus cancellations by platforms: one deluxe Xbox version, 695 pre-orders, 108 canceled. Normal Xbox, 885 pre-orders, 128 canceled. Deluxe PS5 version, 1,872 pre-orders, 254 canceled. Normal PS5 version, 3,341 pre-orders, 466 canceled. And obviously,
by the way, this also kind of low-key highlights how much in front of the game PlayStation is compared to. Because, it is something that shows what's happening. Now, maybe Dragon Age Veilguard is... No, well, maybe Dragon Age in general is a PlayStation thing. I don't actually know if it is or not. But, man, the Xbox numbers are not close even to the PS numbers. That's insane. That is a very, very, very giving away fact.
When it comes to physical media, right, we see a major divide in digital versus physical. 80% of games sold now are sold digitally, but there is still a dedicated group of gamers who try to buy physical whenever they can because they want to try to, delay the inevitable. Of course, I have not enjoyed Veilguard very much. I've been streaming a playthrough on the channel, but I still went out of my way to make sure that I got a physical copy because at the end of the day, I am someone who would much rather be able to buy a physical item rather than just having an all digital library. And I completely understand that these numbers, 6,793, may not seem like a lot.
I had the original World of Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne, Brain of Chaos, all of those things. I fucking threw them out instantaneously when Battle.net allowed you to add the codes to your account. Never regretted anything, boys. Okay. I think having a collection is cool. Definitely, but I am personally not the type of guy who's gonna collect games. I have actually thought, if anything that I'm gonna collect is super shit Vogue games that completely destroy themselves. It's like, if I could get that hard copy of Concord, I actually probably would.
But we do not even know the digital pre-orders that were canceled and were never
I talked about this. If the physical pre-orders are roughly somewhere in the lines of 10-ish% of total pre-orders. So yeah,
gonna know that unless of course they put it in an investors call, which they wouldn't do. But one would assume if the physical pre-orders are getting canceled like crazy, that the digital ones most likely did also. And we know that this game did not do, crazy numbers, right? Just 3 days ago, it hit its all-time peak on Steam at
sad.
89,418 players, and obviously nearly
And again, the shills are gonna try and tell you that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing for an indie studio. That's amazing for a double A game. Okay, that is not amazing for one of BioWare's flagship titles. Okay, not even in the slightest.
90K is
Again, this game should have been with an average player base from 250k to 350k. What happened? Dick, that's what happened.
still a lot of gamers, don't get me wrong. But on the flip side, you would expect this to be higher. We're talking about 9 years worth of development. People have been waiting for so long for this title to release, but I do genuinely think that
And now it's not even gonna get a DLC because it's a waste of money.
this is the effect that gamers have had on the industry, speaking with their wallets, right? There's a lot of people out there who were excited, and over the past just couple of months alone, with seeing new footage and all the leaks,
Yeah, yeah. Again, this game probably needs to sell a minimum of 5 million copies to even remotely come to not being a disaster. I still don't know if it's if we're ever gonna get the news that it exceeded 1.5 million sales, which was my original bet here. I think it's gonna be a struggle to exceed even that. Best ultra super scenario, I think would be 3 million. Super best ultra scenario with all the giveaways, with all the bullshit that they're doing. That would be the super best scenario, but even that is, again, still a financial disaster.
decided against purchasing it and deciding to stand against BioWare, which I am in complete agreement with. If that's what you decide to do, and that's what you feel is the best decision for you, 100% go for it. I did buy it so that I could live stream it on the channel and you guys could watch it that way, maybe instead of spending your money. It's just not worth $70.
Sweetie, please. You just wanted to hurt yourself a little bit. Because at the end of the day, for us, the thing about this absolute Vogue BS and dialogues and whatnot is the fact that this game required so little to honestly succeed because the combat's not that bad. Okay, well, maybe being a warrior is a super shitty choice. But if you're a mage, you're having a decent time. If you're a rogue, you're having an okay time. Not as a warrior, though, then you're sucking dick. But, the combat, even though repetitive, even though predictable, even though there's literally 3 enemy types, Diablo 4 style, New World style, it's kind of okayish to play. Okay, it's not like you're experiencing pain whenever you're in the combat, unless you're a warrior, in which case you are experiencing pain and a lot of it. But for everything else, it's kind of fine. Okay, this game just needed to not be super duper woke to this extent, and it would probably have done fine. With the Fortnite cartoony BS look and, all of that gone, it wouldn't been a hit still, but at least it would sell a couple of million copies. But instead it chose to kill itself, which is very thematical for the, stuff that this game wants to portray and talk about constantly. Well, I guess they're more honest than you think.
Never mind the higher end editions. Oh my god, I would regret that decision so much if I had bought like a $100 edition of this game. It's truly, truly abysmal. 90K is nothing, really, compared to some of the other larger releases just over the past couple of years. I mean, look at Hogwarts Legacy, for example. Yes, the Wizarding World has a massive fan base, but that was a brand new, video game series, because there's been other Harry Potter video games in the past, but this marked a new.
All of the past Harry Potter games have been pretty much almost exclusively shit if you're not looking back to the literal 2000s. All of them have been pretty much just mobile bullshit games where they're trying to extort every dime from every player, okay?
Start, and that has 850,000 players on Steam for its all-time peak. You have games like Black Myth Wukong that were made by an indie team, their first video game release, and it hit 2.5 million players all time peak. You just would expect things to be going a little bit better for BioWare in Dragon Age. We were talking about some big names here, but
Yep.
it has not been positive for them. And we're also hearing that they are reportedly shifting their
Ah,
focus away from this game in totality.
okay, so we actually have corroboration of this. Any DLC? Not. Okay, so I wasn't making this up. There we go.
Because it will not have any DLC or expansions as they move their focus to Mass Effect 5, and it just seems that they did not know how to handle the backlash. But this is what is going to happen with every single game that puts identity politics first, that wants to push a narrative over being escapism, right? I want my games to be fun. I want them to be able to give me a whole new experience. I want to be in this fantasy medieval world with dragons and magic, and oh, it's
Yeah.
so cool. But Dragon Age the Veilguard took you
Make fun of the peasantry class, spit on them while they're doing menial labor, cast some explosion spell on their sheep, burn their mutton. Ah, the dreams. Man, medieval fantasy is just great. Okay? Man, first night rights, 10 out of 10. I mean, man, fantasy is the best.
out of that experience because of the modern day messaging that is in this. I mean, they use terms like transgender, non binary, you pick your pronouns.
Hell
It
yeah.
is cringe worthy to the max. And this is not going to just happen with one or two games. This is going to continue to happen for years and years until developers decide to put identity politics to the side and make genuinely amazing experiences first. And honestly, I wish that this wasn't happening. I wish that they'd make DLC and expansions for the Veilguard, because now this means that a lot of the activists who are working on Veilguard are going to be shifted to Mass Effect 5, meaning it's going to be.
Oh yeah. Again, we talked about this. Mass Effect 5 is dead, okay? I'm sorry to say this, but Mass Effect 5 is so fucking fucked, it's not even funny, okay? It's probably gonna be worse than Veilguard.
Just as woke. We're going to have just as many activists working on it. And sure, my expectations were already extremely low after a game like Andromeda, but I wish that they just make DLC and expansions for Veilguard so we could keep these individuals in one game, right? They would be busy with Veilguard, so they couldn't mess up Mass Effect 5, but it seems that that's not going to
No,
happen, and
it's
I'm
over.
sure a
It's
high
over.
percentage of these activist devs are going to go to Mass Effect 5, and they're probably going to butcher that too. And it's just so sad to see this happening time and time again. So, yeah, I mean, right now we are hearing that this.
Yeah. No. Listen, there is literally no shot that Mass Effect 5 is gonna be good. It's pretty much following the same steps as Elder Scrolls 6, where the chances that that game is gonna be good is also very, very low. Starfield was shit. Starfield Shattered Space proved that Bethesda literally has no idea what they're doing, and the same people that made that game are now making Elder Scrolls 6. And, well, everyone knows it's over. And now, well, there you go. Dragon Age Veilguard team is now proudly ruining Mass Effect 5 because reasons. And again, keep in mind, this is technically a medieval fantasy game, and you still have top scotch and shit like that. Mass Effect, though, is in the future. My god, can you imagine how many of every NPC that you're gonna find is gonna actually be not the assigned Bert, blah blah blah, and whatever? It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so fun. Okay, it's completely over for Mass Effect, and hopefully for BioWare, because I mean I have no pity for them. They would not cry for us. We should not cry for them. Anyway, that was very dark. 10 out of 10. Bye.